I don't think there's anything that could really help you expand in the way that financial struggle does, because it's just so funny. We put so much on money, right? We put all of our everything. If you've got, it's your relationship, your partnership and your money that really dictates how happy you are. So most people think it's their job, but it's not. It's your relationship with that significant other is huge, because I see people that are alone all the time on social media and they are miserable. The only thing they want is a partnership. And you'll hear people say, well, I just need to be okay with me and I need to love myself. And I totally agree with that. But that partnership and being in partnership with someone and going through life, if that partnership is messed up or if your finances are messed up, you'll have an extremely hard time being happy. So when we think about money, it's not even real. You don't even take it with you. It's numbers on a computer screen, and we put everything on it.
That was Goldyn Duffy, and this is episode 135 of the Yogi Triathlete Podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Jess. Welcome back to the place where we share stories every week of people looking, finding, and living their purpose. Today's guest is no exception. I mean, you guys, she is such a shining example. Goldyn Duffy is a warrior, living and teaching others to be skillful at this game of life. Oh my God, thank God for her. BJ and I were connected with Goldyn just over a year ago on account of a so-called random connection through the UK. We invited her to be on the podcast after listening to an audio clip that she sent us. In this brief clip, she eloquently spoke about law of attraction, quantum physics, and the importance of meditation as the foundation of it all. We immediately felt connected with her, a feeling that was confirmed last September when she came to the studio to record our podcast. I remember feeling that day that when she left the house, our work together was not done. It was only just beginning. In that episode, number 72, she spoke about her story, minimizing her life, moving with her husband and her children to California from Connecticut to follow a calling on the West Coast. She talked about going into summer sober and making choices that were more aligned with who she wanted to be and where she wanted to go in this life. We have so many similarities in our stories, from financial despair to rising up from the ashes more than once, to our New England roots and our expansive lives here now in Southern California. About a month after we recorded that podcast, she texted me on an inspiration that she and I were to teach a meditation class, and that text turned into M21 Revolution. M21 is a powerful online community of like-minded change makers who are closing the gap between what they dream of and what they live every day. The cost is $21 a month, and you can come and go as you please. We combine Goldyn's deep wisdom of universal law and quantum physics with my background in yogic philosophy and endurance sports for the ultimate experience in mindset training. Because mind training is the essence of it all. Without the mind training, we will continue to be the servant to our thoughts and impulses, and we will continue to live a life where things happen to us. Both Goldyn and I have grown exponentially from our experience with M21, and the shifts that our members are creating in their lives it's nothing less than profound. I mean, that word just doesn't even seem to be enough. You know, we tackle deeply flawed belief systems and social programmings to reveal the power behind our ability to change our lives in an instant. And today, in this episode, we tackle one of the biggest of those programmings, and that's money. Goldyn, as well as BJ and I, have walked the gauntlet with the trials and tribulations of money and the availability of terror that goes along with a scarcity mindset. There is no long-lasting joy in this way of living, and it's not where the money resides. But the biggest downside is that we end up creating more of exactly what we don't want. So let's pull up the shades on the dirty little programmings of money and clue into the tools that create abundance with a powerful teacher, a skillful creator, and a quantum physics educator, Goldyn Duffy.
Yeah, so I was like, well, Jess, I'm sure we'll have questions prepared.
Yeah, I have a whole agenda for this podcast.
Question number one.
Question number one.
Let's work from the top
And then
down.
you answer the question, and then I say, cool. Interesting. And I don't even listen to the answer. And then I just go on to the next one. Isn't that what an interview is?
That's exactly how this works.
All right. We're feeling money. We're feeling like we want to talk about money today. And I think it's like the perfect thing to talk about because we're moving into the holidays. And I've even been, even me, I've been subject to like,
how shocking. You?
How much, like, oh, I want to buy presents for my family. And how much should I spend? And oh, I don't have it right now. And oh my God, but I have to do it because the holiday is coming. Like it's like this countdown.
Yes.
And I'm like, whoa.
So true.
And the cool thing about meditation and living mindfully and being a freaking warrior is that you spiral into that for about 15 seconds, and then you just, as Ram Dass would say, you just have a little cosmic giggle over it. You got to have that cosmic giggle of like, look at the delusion.
Still there.
Look at the delusion. Yep. So what is it? What's our social programming about money?
I think it comes from our childhood, absolutely. I mean, whatever the energy in our household was growing up, that most likely will form the beliefs of when we're, and that's why a lot of times you'll see people who just kind of have the same energy around money that their parents did. Like I had a girlfriend growing up who her dad was successful, and he trained his girls basically to invest and to save money and to be really responsible with money. And she is a multimillionaire today. And I know it's because her dad gave her the tools and the wherewithal and the belief systems and the energy around money to do that. In my household, not so much. My parents were very much like, there was a lot of money coming in, a lot of money going out. And my dad was an entrepreneur, so he was always wheeling and dealing. And there was a lot of energy around there not being enough sometimes. And then if we had enough, it was spending it as fast as we could. Like there was that energy of the in and out, but really no balance in it. And I've definitely lived that in my life for sure. And so in order to really come into this abundant mindset, you have to become, first of all, aware of what you grew up with. If you grew up with an energy around money that was lackful or scared or fearful, which most of us did, a lot of us did, then those will all reverberate throughout your life, and you'll see it in your life. And if you can come to a place now where you start to gain space, and that's where meditation comes in, is we gain that space to be able to choose, do I want to feel this way? Do I want to attract money this way? Do I want to live this existence like my parents did, or do I want to choose something else? And so once we start to realize that we have the awareness to choose, that's not exactly where it changes. It changes when we start to feel different about it, when we start to decide and have faith and trust that it's coming, that it's always going to be there. So many of us can look back over hundreds of thousands of times in our life where money was scarce and then it came. Like there's these miracles that happen, and God, if I'm not an example of that. When you didn't know where rent was going to come from and you were flipping out, and in the 11th hour this incredible miracle happens and everything is taken care of and you're not thrown out of your apartment. You can't just like have experiences like that and say, I don't believe. It's like this belief system that gets created by your experiences. But if you don't have the belief and you live in lackful energy, then you're going to continue to attract unexpected bills, shit happening, things not working out, and it's always going to be hard. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be hard.
So I love how you phrase that. First, you need to gain the space to realize that you have a choice.
Right.
But the change doesn't necessarily begin and end with the choice. Mm-mm. Well, I think it begins with the choice, but you have to get aligned with it. You have to get into that feeling.
Right.
Because the feeling, if there's anything I've learned from you, and it's so funny because my meditation teacher has taught me this for years, but for some reason from you, it made sense.
Right.
And then I realize now that he was using the same language. Uh-huh. He was using the same, telling me the same kind of stories. But you know how it's like you can hear it from like your husband a million times, but then you hear it from somebody on the street and all of a sudden it makes sense.
Totally.
And so that was one thing that you really brought into my life, is this understanding and this embodiment. So at first it's the understanding, then it becomes the embodiment, that the feeling is the manifestation. The feeling is the creation.
Yep, absolutely.
So if you're Okay, let's use, because you and I have, and BJ, who's also here, we've all walked the gauntlet around money. And so the story, and I know our listeners have heard this before, but when rent and groceries were going on the credit card, they did not go on the credit card until I was aligned in gratitude for being so excited that I had great credit, that we had great credit, and we had a huge limit, that we could put groceries on there, that we could buy what we needed. We were writing a cookbook and we were charging all the food. And I just kept thinking about the love that I have. Like, one of the things I love the most is preparing and sharing food. And now here I am writing my first book.
Yeah.
And BJ's so talented as a designer and a photographer and all these amazing things that are happening. And this is the space I'm getting into in the grocery store line, and even on the car ride to the grocery store, and picking out the food and seeing the brilliance in the vegetables and the miracles of how we even came about packaging food, and just being in this mindset of total gratitude. And that feeling and that practicing of that feeling has led now to just, that's my foundation.
It's everything.
What's your default?
Yeah.
It's my default now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, it has changed. I really feel like I've ended that karma of that financial karma. And I still see like there's some residue around and little scraps hanging around.
Yeah.
But then I get that big broom out and I go, okay, that's cool. I see it. And I just kind of sweep the room with it. And then I bring all the residue in and I say, okay, let's deal with this residue, whatever that is. Like yesterday, it was calling Amazon and getting a return squared away. And it was calling the franchise tax board about some kind of penalty that we had for $40. And it all matters. It all matters. And just being like, I'm just going to get somebody on the other end of the phone that's a human.
Right.
You know,
and what matters is your response to that. So it's like when we flip out over these things, right? And we feel the lack of our foundation. When you feel that lack and then you call about this $40 penalty, you're still going to have to pay the penalty. But when you go into it with gratitude and abundance and like, I'm working with this because I know I'm worthy of this thing working out, then things start to work out for you and money starts to get freer. It starts to flow freer.
It's free. It's flowing so much freer now, to the point where just like a week ago I said, oh, I could really use this amount of money. Like that would be really cool. And then it literally just dropped out of the sky last night. And it's so wonderful how it works when you get into alignment with it and you become friends with it. And as I announced in our M21 a couple of weeks ago, like I love money now. And I don't think that felt comfortable for me to say, because there was so much that went along with that for me. But in the past, you know, very similar to you, I grew up with a lot of money coming in and a lot of money going out. Christmas presents where you couldn't even walk into the room.
Us too.
And we had a huge room.
Yep.
You know, and we would be tired of opening presents. We'd be like, Mom, I'm just tired of opening presents. I mean, it was, my parents have pictures of our Christmases that were crazy. And then the bills would come in January and then it was like stress.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I grew up with. And even though it always came and I always saw that we never lost our house and we never lost our cars, I carried that into our adult life. And I remember paying bills and paying mortgages. And at one point, BJ and I owned 3 homes, and paying those mortgages and being like, and being in panic, but being like, it's going to be okay. We've got $5 in the checking. It's going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. I know it's going to be okay because it's always okay.
Yeah.
So I had the understanding, but I didn't have the wisdom to work on changing the
energy
feeling.
Yeah, and the energy
because I wasn't meditating at the time.
Right. And I know people with millions of dollars that feel that lack and feel that fear and energy around it, that they're going to lose it. So it's all perspective. And it's all about, you know, when you think about the social programming, just stepping back when you were talking about like having a lot of money, the social programming around a lot of money or the love of money. I mean, what have we been taught about the love of money, right?
That is bad.
Or like,
or that you're going to be a
greedy.
jerk.
What does the Bible tell us about money, right? Like it's sin, it's evil, it's like to love money is wrong. And when we come into it with that, then we have a relationship with money that's really, it's gross. It's not anything that you're going to be able to foster in that energy, because money's not going to come to you if you hate it. And money's not going to come to you if you believe that when you're wealthy, you're going to be a jerk. if you know a lot of wealthy people and they're not great people, then that's a belief system.
Or if you have that belief system, which came up in our M21 group a couple weeks ago of, well, I'm okay with it and I'm okay without it.
Yeah, wishy-washy.
And, wishy-washy, right? Like, I don't need money. I've got everything I need. I'm okay with it. And, that kind of thing. And so what does that do?
For a while I had a mantra that was, and my energy lady helped me catch this, was I'm just going to get what I need. And so when you just ask for what you need, then you're always going to be in this situation where you don't create abundance.
And where you need something.
Where you always need something, right? And so it's like this, I need it and it comes, I need it. So it becomes an 11th hour thing. So you always have fear around it because it always shows up at the last hour. And Mike and I really realized that. And we're like, why does this always happen in the 11th hour? Well, in the 11th hour, we usually let go. That's usually when we go, I've done everything I can. There's nothing I can do. So when you let go, you send that invite to the universe to co-create with you, because you're no longer just relying on yourself, because you're like, there's nothing else I can do. So you put your hands up and then it swoops in. When you're in abundance mentality, that's gratitude, that's love, that's joy, that's all abundance mentality. That's where all the money is. That's where the abundance of wealth is, because now we're in a mind state of appreciation, of love. So we're in a flow. We're in a flow. There's no resistance when you're in love. There's no resistance when you're feeling abundant or appreciation or gratitude.
Right. And when I walked into that grocery store, I wasn't thinking, oh my God, we only have $4 in our checking account. I was like, we have $25,000 on this credit card.
Right? Doesn't that feel like abundance?
Yeah.
But most people think of credit card as debt. It feels heavy. It feels like a burden, right? We go through Christmas, we have fun, we're buying presents, and then in January we feel this heaviness and this debt. That's not abundance. If you could look at your credit card statement as like, this is making it possible for me to do wonderful things, to live, to eat, to travel, whatever it is, and just feel that about it, your payments would be so much easier.
Yeah.
You would clean up the debt, because there would be no such thing as debt.
Right. It was funny because but I'm paying those credit cards now, and how grateful am I that I now have income to pay those credit cards. That fed
It also
us
makes you conscious of what you're putting on the credit cards.
True.
So in the
more.
gifts, like I grew up in a family where it was like, if you don't give a gift and if you don't say thank you and if you don't follow that process, like big guilt coming on, like you should have gotten something and you should have gotten the right thing.
Yep.
So if you're going through the motion of buying the presents and charging it because you need to give a present, and then January kicks around and you're feeling like you're going to go down the hole even deeper, because now you got credit and now you really didn't want to give the present to begin with.
Right.
So it makes you go deeper into
obligatory gifts. I hate that.
But that's the environment I grew up in, or at least that's what I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys talked about the money. I don't remember ever my parents talking about money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was
everything I think was just like on the down low.
It was quiet.
Like whether they were in financial dismantling or not, I didn't know.
What was the feeling around, like, what was your feeling around money? Like, if you asked them for money or if you needed to do something, was there any discussion there?
Well, I had to do chores and I had to work for it.
So there was
like that
exchange.
system going on,
Yeah.
But it wasn't like they gave us a ton of money to go out. Like I knew that we weren't the richest of people in the neighborhood. And I think I noticed that from going to friends' houses and seeing more.
Right. Yeah.
In other places than I had at my house.
It's usually where you'll see it.
I don't want kids to come to my house. I want to go to their house. They had ColecoVision and all the cool things.
All the cool things.
But I feel like...
But did you feel lack in that?
Because you've asked me to go back and and investigate, things in your childhood.
Because it's all about the feeling. Like, it doesn't really matter what our parents said to us. It's how we were feeling at the time.
Yeah.
So if we went to our friend's house and we felt lack in all those things and thought to ourselves, well, why can't I have that? Then that will set up the belief system.
I would say that I had a feeling of lack because now I have a feeling of gratitude and abundance. Mm-hmm. So having this feeling that I have now is
you could feel
I don't think I've had that before. So I would say we were or at least I was in a feeling of lack. Like,
oh, baby.
So that's interesting, because a lot of people probably may not be aware of even where they are right now.
Well, that's like going back to the beginning of the podcast when you were like, the first step is to reflect on what your relationship was to money way back when you were growing up. Like, do that reflection.
Yeah,
like, get that space.
Most people don't. They don't
I
realize.
don't even, you know, and I think that's something I need to do myself, but like realize what was happening when you were growing up. What was the feeling like? Did you have a lot of money? Was it stressful? Was it meaningful to you when you got $20? Like, what is $20? I just found, I found $20 on my bike ride the other day, just randomly on the side of the road, like a $20 bill.
That's so fun.
And I was like, this is amazing, $20.
And then we went
awesome.
right to the organic, we went right to Choice and got smoothie bowls, and I felt like that $20 expanded.
But we actually took that 20, brought it to the bank and got quarters for laundry.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right. And then we went, so we made that 2040 because then we went to Choice and got smoothie bowls.
How much more meaningful was that $20?
But how important was it for him to find the 20?
Yeah.
We got the quarters for laundry, and then we went out and spent an additional 20.
Yeah.
And feeling good about
because
it.
it's abundance.
Right. Whereas before, I can guarantee you before I would have taken that 20, just tucked it away.
Tucked it away.
Tucked it away.
Yeah.
Save it.
Because
I'm fearful, fearful. So it still resides.
So that energy.
So now it's like
there.
spend it, go, not spend it frivolously, but
to do it in a way of knowing that there's flow.
Right.
And that a lot of times is what I see with people is that there's this constriction around money, there's a fear around money, and whether you have it or not doesn't matter because it's all based on how you feel about it. You could have tons of money and feel like crap about it. You could have no money and feel amazing about it. And then to see what happens energetically as you continue that way. Like I know I had shared about my friend Lisa's dad. He was extremely wealthy and he was so constricted about it. He was so proud of himself for like saving it up. And he died of like a constriction disease in his blood vessels. Like it's so interesting what happens, right? He didn't lose his money because he apparently had an energy around abundance and he was able to hold on to it. But he's gone now. So what was the point of that, right? It's going to show up. That feeling around is going to show up, whether it shows up in your health or it shows up in your bank account.
Or your relationship.
Or your relationships, yep.
Your job, your relationship with your boss, like it's going to show up. Yeah. And I think that, 10 years ago, it would not have been in my highest good to be going out and spending that extra $20 on the Choice juicery smoothies, because I would have been like, because
you weren't there.
We shouldn't spend this money, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm still not in the feeling. Yeah. And so to get into the feeling, you have to get into what you are feeling.
Right.
And we find that's meditation, and there's really no other way.
There's no other way.
So it's the quieting of the mind.
To create the space to start to understand where you're, like what you're feeling. Because most people don't look at their feelings. Tons of us are walking around with huge amounts of grief and traumas and things that we've never experienced before. Like we've experienced them, but we haven't allowed ourselves to really feel them because we're all moving so fast.
And being just programmed to think like a high credit card bill means fear and uncomfortableness.
Yes.
And, a low bank balance means fear and uncomfortableness and insecurity. And that it's programming.
Yeah.
And that you can change
completely.
We are, the three of us are living proof that you can change this.
And I often wonder, do you have to go through the financial contrast to really get clear about what you're doing? Because if it wasn't for the contrast the second time, because I've gone through this twice. I mean, I've gone through it a lot in my life. Like when my kids were younger, my older kids were younger. I remember Mike collecting cans on the side of the road because he didn't have work, and we were formula feeding one of our babies and we didn't have formula. And I remember him going out and a guy seeing him out and about being in action and hired him to work. And I remember feeling just like so much lack and so much unsupport at that time in our lives. And then the second time we went through it, we had a lot of money go very fast. The economy crashed. And I remember the feeling around that was total fear and total, like I couldn't breathe every day for like a year.
We say how much money went fast. Like, are we talking hundreds of
we
thousands?
We had a $3 million business that went pretty much belly up overnight. When the economy crashed, we had a lot of people that were flipping homes. We had a lot of money out that was owed to us. And I mean, we went through our bankruptcy. The bankruptcy lawyer said that was the biggest bankruptcy he had ever seen. So proud of that. I mean, it was like, because there was a lot of business debt. There was a lot. And that's the funny thing.
I bet you weren't getting paid. You weren't getting paid for what was out there.
And he had kept his guys working at our house because I think he was just delusional at that point. He just wanted to keep everybody happy and working. We had 10 employees we were paying. And when it all went south and there was like nothing left, you sit there and you're like, okay, we lost the cars. But the funny thing about that is, like, I lost my pilot. They came and repossessed it. I met a guy networking. Within a week, I had another car. Like, he gave me a car to help him out with a business and let me drive a car of his for like a year. I mean, like, so much of this stuff happened. And my daughter started working with Mike, so she started driving him to work. He didn't have a truck for like 2 years. Crazy. We moved here without a truck because he didn't have a truck.
A general contractor not having a truck.
That crazy?
That's like the craziest thing, right?
And you could think that's like, the worst thing that could happen to you. But it was like we were able to roll with everything. And I think that whole experience just created so much faith and trust in us that we were able to move to California, with a certain amount of money and not fail because we had so much faith and trust that everything was going to work out for us. Like, our default, our foundation was everything always works out for us.
So people need to feel the experience, right?
It's possible. I don't know. I wonder, like, if we have people on here that don't, that have experienced something different, it would be cool to hear about it. But for us, like for you guys and us, it's like, we needed to go through that to get to where we are today. We needed to hit
the rock bottom. But there might be some people listening to this that are like, okay, wait a minute. I am constricted over money, and I just made decisions, in our household based on money because I'm fearful, and I don't even feel good about those decisions because maybe there were things that I wanted in my life that I don't have in my life anymore. I think that those people, they don't have to go down the road any further.
No, because it's awareness, right?
They could change it. They could start changing it right. Well, they need to join M21 because the amount of shifting around money that's happening in that group is amazing.
It's cool.
So I would say join that for $21 because you have $21 to change your vibration around money. I don't think you have. We had to go.
Yeah.
We had high debt and then we got debt free and now we're back and I'm so grateful for it all. I wouldn't trade any of it.
Right?
Like, would you trade that bankruptcy?
No, I wouldn't trade any of it. I wouldn't, because there's like the expansion and the growth and the understanding that came along with that, and the fact that I'm able to speak to it experientially. Like, I don't just say things; I understand where people are.
Like, you had babies and $40 in your account. Right? That's warrior status.
Seriously, it is. And I don't think there's anything that could really help you expand in the way that financial struggle does, because it's just so funny. We put so much on money, right? We put all of our, like, everything. Like, if you've got, it's your relationship, like your partnership and your money that really dictates how happy you are. So most people think it's their job, but it's not. It's like your relationship with that significant other is huge. Because I see people that are alone all the time on social media and they are miserable. Like, the only thing they want is a partnership. And, you'll hear people say, well, I just need to be okay with me and I need to love myself. And I totally agree with that. But that partnership and, like, being in partnership with someone and going through life, if that partnership is messed up or if your finances are messed up, you'll have an extremely hard time being happy. So when we think about money, it's like, it's not even real. You don't even take it with you. It's numbers on a computer screen, and we put everything on it. We put how we feel, how we conduct ourselves, what we do every day,
what
work,
we pursue,
right? What we exchange for, right? And the belief that we have to stay in a miserable job because we've got to pay our bills is hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious, because you're never going to get anywhere with that kind of vibration, with that kind of energy of being sad or miserable and trying to make money. You'll never create abundance that way.
Most people don't know this about us, but BJ and I have been in entrepreneurship with each other, like, since we met. We were working for a corporate company, and then BJ went out on his own, and he was given this amazing opportunity. The company that we were working for said, because you were going to go out on your own, and they said, well, we'll be your client. Which was amazing.
Right.
So he had this retainer.
Yep.
And we took that and we moved to Boulder, and then we created this business.
Yep.
And BJ was web design, and both of us have been in marketing for well over 20 years. And I was in charge of all the finances, which I still am, in charge of our personal finances. And thank God I do it with wisdom now.
Right.
Because it was kind of a crapshoot before. But we were just talking about this the other night. So we had a lot of clients. Like, we had an extremely abundant business. So at the end of the month, sometimes it was $20,000 of billing. Sometimes it was $10,000 of billing. But still, that's plenty to live on for a month, right? But BJ, it was like, I swear I was going to divorce him because he had to get me the invoicing numbers.
Oh, God.
In order.
Details.
Yes, the details. So I want to dig in a little bit. What was your relationship around that, BJ? Because you're doing all this work and then you're not invoicing the clients and you're not giving me the hours. Because I think at first you were invoicing them and that wasn't happening.
Right.
So it was like, because he wasn't tracking his hours and he was undercharging people.
Yep.
So it was and I want to get your take on it too, because I don't think I've even told you this. So then it was like, give me your hours and I'll bill them.
Right.
But I still couldn't get the hours from him.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting, the details. Because I was in web design, which it requires you to be detailed in
But like
the actual
that was
building.
paying our mortgage,
Right.
more than one mortgage at the time.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
I don't know. I got to do some reflection on it.
It feels like unworthiness.
Yeah.
It feels like unworthiness.
That's the answer we're looking for, BJ.
Okay, so unworthiness would be it.
Well, I mean, it's just so beautifully scripted there, is that you're doing all this work and it's like now you have to ask for the money.
But I also had this thing in my mind, and I've thought about this. Part of it is I wanted to space things out. Like I always know I have this. I guess it's the saving thing again.
Right.
Like when I invoice them, then there's going to be a big lump of
Then
lump sum of money.
Then there won't be anything to invoice.
Yeah. Now what's next?
Right. So
after
there's
that
lack in
yeah.
that.
So
That's
there's
an
lack.
interesting fear.
Yeah.
So just don't invoice at all.
Yeah.
No,
So then
invoice
we'll
when
still have-
it ends up. Like
It kind of feels like a bank account.
It does.
Right. And my husband always says it's not banked money until it's in my bank account.
Right.
He always says
So I
that.
can really attest to what you were saying, because, you know, BJ and I are soulmates. We have a deep, deep love and connection for one another. And that deep love and that connection is what allowed us to get through that time, because it was high. Oh my God, we just got 20 grand in the PO box.
Yeah.
And then it was low. Like, we've got $20. We never had savings.
Yep.
We never had savings.
And how good would you feel when you had 20 grand?
I felt good,
Like,
but I also felt a little panicked because I had to pay
So you
all the
never
bills.
really did feel. It was just
But
like
I
as
was
soon as
still-
it came in, it's going out.
When I saw that check and come in for a new client, it was awesome. It was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But then it's like,
But then it shifted.
then it's like 4-6
We
weeks
wouldn't
of nothing.
we didn't know how to
paying.
stay in that feeling of
Yes.
feeling good.
Like-
And I think that that's a practice.
Which is why there was no flow, like why there would be so much resistance
the
around
faucet
it.
would be on, the faucet would be off, the faucet would be on, but we always made it. And we had
always.
somehow we're like, multi-time homeowners in Boulder, Colorado, which
Yeah.
everybody was like, it's so expensive. I think we had good karma there. We were able to acquire money, but our relationship around it never let us have peace.
Right.
And
then it's like, what's the point? And no matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter if you feel like you don't feel good around it.
If you don't have
Then
that
what's the
peace, peace of mind, even when, we're still coming out of the tunnel, and I'm so grateful because the light is so bright, but I'm at peace.
Yeah.
I'm at total peace.
Completely.
And I'm at more peace than I was when I would pull 20 grand out of the PO box.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
I think that if you're lacking that peace of mind,
Yep.
it's a really good question to ask yourself, what do I have?
Yeah.
Because without peace of mind, I think you're really looking at scraps.
Absolutely.
Because our peace of mind is that joy of state of being. It's gratitude. It's realizing that this universe is not lackful.
No. There's no lack in the universe. And if you can look around and see the abundance without feeling jealous and comparing yourself.
Oh, that used to be me.
Because that's what blocks the flow of your own
huge.
blessings.
I was walking around with a stone wall in front of me. And even when we moved here.
Yeah, so much abundance here.
I couldn't believe it, like that it was still hanging around as I walked down the streets and stuff, being like, oh, it's, you know what? It's even hard for me to talk about it because I don't want to bring that back, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I have a fear around that.
Yeah.
But now I look at all these amazing multi-million-dollar condos and townhomes and homes going up, and I'm like, oh, look at all that abundance. That abundance is mine too.
It is, because it's in your field. And it all is projected on how you feel. So if energetically you are feeling really good about these homes and beautiful cars and just, flowers and sunshine, like if you're feeling good, you're in alignment with abundance.
in alignment.
So that's why
Yay!
you need to watch your words when you're when you're talking. Like, oh my God, another house is going up over here. Another guy is pulling his truck up, and they're going to be working all.
Because the words create the feeling,
right?
How's it roll? How's it roll? Quantum physics.
Well, it all starts with feeling, because you're not going to say words that you don't feel, right? So the feelings, it starts with a feeling, but underneath the feeling is always a belief. There's always a foundation of beliefs. So once you have that foundation of beliefs, then that whatever happens outside of you is going to spark a feeling. And it's all dependent on the traumas you've experienced, what you've experienced in your life this far. And if you don't have, a really great foundation of abundance and money and feeling really good about wealth, then those things are going to be triggered. Those things are going to be triggers for you, and you're going to feel bad. And in that feeling of bad, there's so much healing to be done. And once you start to heal it, like we've all healed this stuff, once you start to heal it, then you've got space to create new beliefs, new feelings, and new experiences.
I love this. Now we're going to go into how to heal it. Yeah. But first I would like to say that it really is a cellular change that I have experienced. Yeah. I texted you yesterday and it never ends. I texted you yesterday saying, I just had like this aha moment and I felt my cells shift again. Yeah. So it's like the practice of yoga, which for me, my whole life is yoga. The results of yoga is not how your forward fold looks. It's embodied on a cellular level.
Yes.
That's the science of it.
Yep. And that's where knowing comes in.
Yes.
So it's not just believing, it's knowing.
It's knowing.
Yeah.
Knowing that the universe is abundant.
Yeah.
That there are miracles happening in me and around me and for me.
Yes.
Every single day.
Yes.
And one of those miracles was a total financial dismantling.
Yeah.
That was a miracle.
It was a miracle. It led you to here.
A total miracle. And as I'm saying this, like my cheeks start smiling. What do you think about it, BJ? And then I want to get into this. How do we heal it?
Okay.
Because I know we have our own
we're
stories
talking about the feelings,
around that.
like feeling.
No. How does that financial dismantling that we experienced in 2017, the year for new beginnings, which I thought was like, oh, that sounds so great. Maybe I'll get some new clothes. Maybe I'll get my ass kicked and dragged along the pavement.
I think I was in a little bit of a why us, like why us again, like why me, kind of the victim a little bit.
Yeah.
Because part of the reason we came here was to create this expansion of, let's just say, yoga. Like we wanted to open a yoga studio. Like this is what we wanted to do. Yep. And this is the perfect place. And we've got everything we need. And we are the right people. And like this is the right place.
How could this not be working?
How can this not be working? Everything about it was like, no. Everywhere we looked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then finally we kept putting the energy into it. And it was finally just like, no. And when we finally shifted gears and direction and just accepted what we had.
Because like yogi triathletes just like over there waving going, hey, I need to be expanded. Yeah. Why are you looking for a yoga studio? Like I need to be out in the world.
Yeah.
which is another experience, because the studio would be a brick and mortar that would tie us down.
And I was starting to get some panic about
Yogi
that.
Triathlete is
This
fluid.
girl doesn't like
Fluid,
to be
yeah.
tied
Everything
down.
we've done has been in the digital, mostly the digital space.
Has kept us fluid.
So we can be anywhere. And
So that we could own a house in Winter Park and be up there
Wherever.
working and then go snowboard and, because we have this is our divine right to be able to do these.
So it was a gift.
Completely.
It was another gift.
Yep.
It was like...
So when did the why me shift?
As soon as we were like, this is the debt that we have, this is everything where we are right now. Now let's move forward. What are we going to do next? And I'm finding in my mind, like, that when you refocus and get
Clear.
Yes. Yeah.
Clarity's everything. Yeah.
The meditation, just being still and being quiet with your thoughts, when you can clear away the clutter and the noise around and begin to refocus.
Yep.
And then put all your energy into that.
Yeah.
And I was going to say we were so lucky, but we're not lucky. This is what we've been building for 20 years together, is Yogi Triathlete. It's us.
Yeah.
So when that came into perspective, things became clear. This is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And even up until the past few days, like, it's bubbling over. It's starting.
Yeah.
It's a pot right now, and it's starting to bubble over because Jess is, I would say, has been 150% there.
Yep.
I've been like 60%.
Yeah.
Then 70%. Then maybe 65.
Yeah.
Then back up to 80. Seriously.
Yeah.
And my job was really to let him be there.
Right. And just to
see
hold,
it,
hold
to
the
not
line.
resist it,
Hold the line.
to not wish he was somewhere else.
Yep.
And to just say, hey man, we've been down this road before. He's coming. I can see him. He's coming along.
And now it's at a point where, man, things are clear. I'm probably at 200% right now.
Wow.
The clarity is like, it can't be any more in my face. And I can see myself going down the old habits a little bit.
Yep.
Of like
but
lack.
you're more aware.
But I'm so much more aware. And I just had an athlete put in her notes, she had an awareness moment. And she didn't really say that.
Yeah.
But what she explained to me was an awareness moment. And she still didn't choose the right way.
Right. Because sometimes we won't.
Right.
But we'll gather so much information from that awareness.
Yes.
Well, and that's what's so incredible about what our athletes receive, really, is that we're going to let you make those choices.
Yep.
But we're also going to be there right by your side, like giving you the guide and the assistance so that you can make more choices.
Yeah.
And maybe you make that choice again. We're like, oh, I just made that choice again. All right, that's fine. But we stand there by your side because it's so much more than swim, bike, run.
No, definitely.
Oh my God,
definitely.
please.
No, it's life, right?
It's it's so much more than that.
It's slowing
and the
down.
skills
Yeah.
that they're gaining and the changes that they're experiencing are beyond.
But that's the
I
same.
mean, it's just amazing.
That's the same for M21. It's
Right.
You're seeing
I was
change.
thinking of that when you were saying
You're
that.
seeing
yeah.
real life change, and it's from people just slowing down. And we all want to get faster at whatever, or better, or more efficient at what we want to do. But it's that slowing down.
It's slowing down, and it's pulling away from the social programmings that we have to work really, really hard to make it. You know, it's recognizing that we are human bodies and we are spiritual, and we've got to balance those things out in order to really live joy. I don't really think there's a lot of people on this planet living in joy. And the more joy we can live, the more abundance we'll live, the more available we are for other people. And that's what I think M21 does for people, is it helps them to stop and to take stock in what they have and to create the space that pulls them away from anxiety, desperation, all that, you know, that nervousness and that distrust of the universe, and it puts them in alignment with who they are, why they're here, and that clarity that comes is like, it's life-giving, because then you start to realize, I really can live my passion and become abundant.
Yeah. And there's some people going through some pretty dicey stuff in the group, but you're never going to get an I'm sorry from you and I. You will never see I'm sorry. We're going to scoop from underneath, and we're going to challenge you, and you're going to feel so incredibly supportive.
Empowered, right?
Empowered to do the work. And and that's the thing, because if we're to go in and say, oh, I'm so sorry that you're having this intense time in your life, that the car you were just going to drive across country just got totaled, I'm so sorry. It's like that puts them in a very powerless position.
Right. Exactly.
And there's we want to empower them and make them realize that it doesn't matter what's happening in your life. Mm-hmm. You are just as powerful as you were before that life situation began.
Yes, absolutely. And to support them in solution-oriented energy, where we help pull people out of their problems and help them to recognize, all right, so this happened, so what do I want? Because oftentimes when stuff happens to us in life, we just focus totally in the direction of what we don't want. So by pulling people back, creating the space through meditation, then they have a choice. All right, so this happened. Okay, what do I want? And then that is what creates the experience.
So the automatic behavior is what they're defaulting to. So always. The car, like, okay, now they go down and they want to hear the sorry because then it feeds the ego. Mm-hmm. They're like, yeah, you're a victim.
Because
things aren't going right.
It temporarily makes them feel better too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's okay that this happened to me. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But what I like about what you're doing in M21 is exactly that. Like you're bringing awareness to people's habits.
Yes.
Like what they continuously do.
Right.
Now, if you can just show them once.
Yep.
Oh, there's another way.
There's another way. It's like opening new pathways in their brain.
Yeah. Well, there was an experience yesterday with somebody in the group had posted, this woman lives on a boat with her family. Her husband's a world-class sailor, and they're crossing the Gulf Stream.
Yep.
And she's
scared.
Pretty scared about it. And with her family, everybody she loves, right? The whole Gilligan's Island situation is probably right there in her imagery.
Sure.
And I can't even get through her post because I'm bubbling up with excitement so much because I can see so clearly what the universe is calling.
What she's being called to.
And I was like, oh my God, can I do like a video comment? Like I'm not even going to be able to articulate this. And I just said to her like, yes, this is so amazing. The Gulf Stream is calling you to love it.
Yeah.
And so through her meditations, what we're guiding her, like through her meditations, feel the power of what it is that you're being fearful of, right?
Yeah.
The power of that Gulf Stream.
Yeah.
And that power is already in her.
Right.
Embody that power.
Right.
And become it because the Gulf Stream is her.
Yes.
There is no separation.
Yes.
And so I was just so excited, and I don't know, there were other words that I put in there and I gave her a little mantra and things like that. And I didn't know what her reply was going to be.
Right.
But because she's so empowered now, this woman has done amazing things. She writes back like, oh, okay. I'm so excited. Yeah. I'm so excited now. Like, cause she had this backup plan of flying, then being driven and then having to take a boat and then meet the family so she could avoid what the universe is calling her to become a part of. Mm-hmm. So this is what happens. Something comes up in our life. We're like, oh, anything but to deal with this because I don't have the tools to deal with this. So I'm going to take a boat and I'm going to fly and then I'm going to drive and then I'll avoid it and it will be fine.
Well, and this is the interesting thing about avoidance. Anything we resist persists.
So it's going to get bigger.
Because I remember when my kids were little and I would avoid families who had illness, we would always get sick, even if we didn't get together with them. Like I would go, no, we're not getting that. We would get it because my focus was on not getting it, right? Like I'm not going to get sick, right? So my focus is sickness. So her thing is like, I'm not going to get into the Gulf Stream and have like all this stuff happen to me. Well, I'm going to tell you by avoiding it, it's going to happen somewhere else.
Well,
because our fears are going to show up.
And how long, whatever the essence of this lesson that it is for her to attain in her life.
Yep.
How long has that have been building? Now it's built up so much that it's the freaking Gulf Stream.
Yeah. But it's not even the Gulf Stream.
Right. It might have started with like avoiding somebody in the supermarket 15 years ago. Yeah. Now it's the Gulf Stream. Now it's an act of nature.
Opportunity.
And how amazing is it when Mother Nature calls you to become one with her? I do it all the time on the trails. I was so scared of trail running. And now I'm out there and I am in bliss. In the last race I ran, I was kissing maple leaves. I hugged trees. I was screaming, "You are amazing." And I meant that for me and all the trees and every being on this earth.
Absolutely.
Because I'm connected to all of them. I am all of them now. Yeah, it's so miraculous when we start to get the clarity, and the clarity is the first step. Because
and you let it play out in your mind how you want it to happen instead of how you don't want it to happen.
And how good that feeling is. So, okay, let's go back to
so that's energetic alignment.
Yeah, let's go to the healing.
I was going to say, you don't want attachment to that, though. So when
you don't want attachment to it,
right?
but you do want to set the vibrational tone for where you want to go. So if you've got all these fears and you're seeing in your mind's eye the boat crashing or a storm coming or whatever, you want to interrupt that. Because those are the fears and things that if you continue on that road, you're going to send out that quantum wave towards stuff happening. So instead, it's like, well, what do I want to happen? Because I remember that I'm a deliberate creator in this universe. I can invite the universe in to be with us, to support us, to see us through safely. So what do I really want? And then just seeing it play out in your mind's eye, like sunshine and people are happy and everybody's relaxed and everybody feels calm, and then see yourself getting to the destination.
And
that's
how it feels.
And how it feels. Like, get yourself in the feeling place of everything working out for you. And then as those little fears start to pop in, you just go, everything is working out for me. I saw it. It worked out for me. Right. So that's building the confidence towards what you want.
How did you start? How did you start getting into the feeling and becoming this deliberate creator that you are now?
Well, before we moved to California, so I wanted to move to California for 4 years, and I would spend so much time in meditation, and I would listen to the ocean waves. And I had never been to California. It was weird. Why do you want to move there? I don't know.
We had the same question.
It's like, I know there's palm trees and beautiful weather, and I've seen things on TV, So I would get myself into the feeling of what I thought it felt like there. And then when we came out in September and I was able to really feel the energy here, then I knew it was a high vibration. I knew that people were happier here. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. People have a higher vibe. They're more communicative. I talk to so many people now. It's like, just have fun everywhere I go because people feel better because it's beautiful out all the time.
But you're also aligning with those types of people.
Exactly, because I'm feeling that in my everyday.
Not everybody's going to have the same experience at the DMV that you have.
So true.
You have a blast at the DMV. It's one of your favorite places.
It's true. I've conquered the DMV. In fact, I look forward to going now. How funny is that? But that's it. The energetic alignment is everything. So whatever you want to do, you might think, well, I don't know what that feels like. But if you spend time quieting your mind and imagining what that feels like, the universe is going to deliver the feelings for you.
And your husband he said he's not moving to California. No. So what did you do?
So every time we would get into discussions that felt like the how, or like he didn't want to go, or he would say these things, I would completely just let it go. I would drop it because I knew that if I got into arguments with him that I would create something that I'd have to overcome later. So I was like, I'm just going to stay in alignment with what I want. And I just and I do that to this day. We really don't argue about things because I know I always get what I want.
And he knows it too.
He really hates that mantra.
He knows it too.
But he knows that I live that. I do. And he knows eventually he's always going to come to understanding that it's just because I'm in such alignment with my desires that they just come. They just come into full fruition. So,
and he's awake too. So he knows when he's in resistance.
He does.
He totally knows, but he runs the course.
He runs the course because we have to.
As we all do.
Right?
How do you know you're in alignment with your desires? I know you knew you wanted to come to California. You wanted to start this life.
It was so freaking strong. It was like a train. I mean, I couldn't stop it. It was so strong. And we were working with an energy healer at that point too. Both of us were.
Both of you guys?
Yeah, and that's when he really came into understanding that he wanted to go as well. It's like, I can't even explain it, but every single day I would wake up and I would feel like I was already there. To the point where I would walk into like stores and there would be like California shirts everywhere. Or I would see like,
in Connecticut.
I would see 7 California license plates in a day, or just everything was like California, California, California. So it's like the universe is telling you, you're on this. It's coming. It's happening. It's like, those are the signs. And I was so like, I'm so faithful. I trust almost too much sometimes that it's like what I'm feeling and that intuitive. Plus I was meditating like 2 hours a day. because I had pulled
Wow.
away from everything because I didn't want to network anymore. I didn't want to really create business there anymore because I was just pulling. So I just spent that entire winter like inside, meditating, writing, focusing on my dream, the whole thing, and then watched as it just unfolded.
I think that's such a profound example of, you don't have to be out there doing the grind and working so hard to create something.
Because it's energetic.
It's
The energetic world is so much more powerful than our physical world.
Oh my God, the physical world is so freaking slow.
So why are we all
Right?
caught up in
Like
this?
how long have you been waiting for that cost of living raise, right? It's like, oh my God, when's my review? When am I going to get my 8% raise or something? Yeah. It's so...
It works.
Because
it's
we
just
can
hard.
see the physical.
It's just hard because that's it. It's
We can
like
visually
we can
see.
see it, so it makes us believe it. Absolutely.
But there is a tremendous, it's unlimited amount of non-physical support that Goldyn and I and BJ can teach you how to tap into. And when you start tapping into that pool, the physical is so funny. I just love it. I love the physical. I love when people say, you ran 42 miles. I'm like, like, it's such a joke because the physical is such a joke.
it's true.
But it's I love it. I love the physical. I love the
human experience.
I love the human condition.
Yeah.
I love the human experience.
Yeah.
I love that I'm having one.
Yeah.
I love the contrast because the contrast is where I level up.
Yes, and the contrast is what really sparks the desire. So I was talking to a woman yesterday, a client, and I said to her, we don't really do things until we have extreme contrast. If we're living in life and it's just okay, then most of us won't really move. We'll have these little callings and we'll have these little, things that we want to do, and we'll have this belief that we can't do it because of, we're stuck in this situation. And it's not until things get really bad that most of us will create change, or that things are taken away. Like, how many times have you heard people losing their jobs or getting a terminal illness, things like that, like catastrophic things happen in their lives, and they're like, it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, pain, they say, is a true motivator.
It's
of
true, because
change.
that's the only way that we'll really do anything about it, you know, to have that
The
motivation.
universe steps
and
in and is
inspiration.
like,
yeah.
I'm going to
was
give you
just-
something big.
Yeah.
Talking this morning at our run group that getting West Nile virus was like the best thing that ever happened to me.
There you go.
It was one of the most amazing things that ever happened to me because it opened me up to holistic medicine.
Yep.
And I've never looked back.
Absolutely.
And I understand the social programming around how, the belief in the Western model. And I think the Western model is amazing for emergency, for acute pain,
Yep.
trauma, but for things that long-term stuff, like real
Healing
true
the body.
healing.
Yeah.
It's so mind, body, spirit.
Totally.
That the Western model can't offer us in its full capacity.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of doctors that are starting to get there and realizing food and
Sure.
belief systems and all of that are so potent in our health. But like getting West Nile virus and being the second person to get it in over 2,000 person outbreak in the summer in Colorado, and being told we don't know if you're going to die. Quarantine yourself, stay away from your husband, don't go anywhere in public. And I'm like, what? That seems so limiting. It seems like such a limiting belief.
And that was a mosquito? Wait, what?
Yeah. and having this moment of like, I remember it. I was driving down 9th Street in Boulder, Colorado, and I said, fuck this.
Right.
I live in Boulder, Colorado. There is an answer.
No doubt.
And I went to my friend who was in homeopathy school. She wasn't even a
Wow.
practitioner. And I called her and I said, Fran, they said they don't know if I'm going to die. And there's no cure. And I just got married like 6 months ago. Like, I don't want to die. And she
not
just
right.
laughed. The cosmic giggle. And laughed and laughed and laughed and said, come over.
Right.
And within 24 hours, I was getting my life back.
Wow.
And
That's
it was
amazing.
it was one of the most beautiful experiences, and it introduced me to acupuncture, and it introduced me to the limitless ability for our bodies to heal.
Absolutely. So if we can take all those things that happen to us and we can look at it as gathering information.
Yes.
You know, all the experiences we're having, as awful or as catastrophic as they feel, or as little and annoying as they feel, if we can look at them as opportunities to gather information that creates expansion and awareness, we win. Because that information just leads us to more, and it leads us to healing things, and it leads us to discoveries, and it leads us to becoming more of who we really are.
Right.
So we should be seeking experience, not the
Right.
answers. Right?
Right.
The experiences is where
The answers are
The answers are in the experiences.
Right.
Exactly. And if we're not fighting the experiences, those answers are going to come a lot faster and a lot easier. If we're just opening ourselves up, which is what M21 does, is it teaches you to become open, and it teaches you to be in acceptance of what's happening. When you accept what's happening, it's like everything starts to flow in a better direction because you're no longer fighting it. And then it's like, oh, I do have the ability to create the life I want to live. I do have the ability, I have the power to create. Once you realize that, that's like stage 4 living. You know?
Yeah, stage 4, exactly. Exactly. It's a good diagnosis, stage 4.
Exactly, stage 4 living.
We were just walking down to the ocean the other night, and BJ, you said something to me like, there's no going back.
No.
And I said, no.
No.
Once you get over that hump, and I know there's people who are listening to this that are like, oh yeah, I'm over that hump. And then there's some people are like, wait a minute.
I want to get over that.
Where's the hump? Where's the hump? I don't even see the hump. But I said to him, yeah, once you get on the other side, not only is there no going back, it's just constant ascension.
Yeah. Well, because they say the better it gets, the better it gets. Because you're in that vibrational flow of belief and faith and trust. So it's like nothing can really happen to you that's going to take you really out. You might, have your moments where you're back in that old pattern, but you're so much more aware that you cannot possibly create from that pattern any longer.
No, you can't. I love that.
No.
Oh, it's the best.
Good
and
stuff.
Every single person has the same potential that we do. Oh. We are not special.
No.
We are all special.
We are all special.
That's right? We are not special. We are all special.
No, but we all are connected to the same expression of source energy. So we all have the ability to understand this. I mean, the computer has given us so much information. Like, we have access to so much information. I mean, anyone can connect with the M21 and get this information for $21 a month. Anyone can come in contact with books and podcasts. I mean, there's a wealth of information out there, and then start to live it and experience it, which creates the faith and the trust.
Because you see it. You see the Tony Robbins and the Abraham Hicks and the Wayne Dyer, and they're all, and Bob Proctor, and anybody who's living this deliberate creation, and it's always the same message.
Yeah.
You are the creator of your reality.
Always.
And your outer world. So would you say that this is a good first step to get on the deck and look at a view, is just taking a look at your outer world?
Yeah. See what the outer world is reflecting to you. I mean, it's just like the DMV thing. It's like whatever your experience is at DMV, that's where you are. Like that's what you're vibrating. It's like, take a really, interesting, or like your day to day, your, what you experience at the grocery store, or what you experience when you're driving. And it's not just what you experience, it's how you feel about it that really matters. So if that woman at the grocery store who had a really bad day with her husband takes it out on you, are you going to allow that to trigger something within you? Or are you going to give her kindness and compassion and love, because that's where your foundation is? So your day is conducted on that, because that determines what the next moment is going to bring. And then the other thing that we love to teach is that mindfulness and being in the present moment right now, because we're oftentimes regretting the past or thinking about the future. So if we can pull ourselves into the present moment and be present with that clerk in the grocery store and really be there for them, we're going to have a totally different experience. We're going to have a totally different life experience in that. And in that, I just want to say, for the holidays, my biggest tip for the holidays is that. Be in the present moment, be with the people you're with, and really soak up the energy of what the holidays mean. It means slowing down, right? 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 Like, Christmas is supposed to be about family and celebrating and slowing down and being with one another. Do any of us do that? We do.
Well, we do.
Well, we do.
Yeah. But back in Connecticut,
no, we were
not.
rushed to like house to
we'd wait
house
till
to house.
we'd wait till the day after Christmas, and that would be our PJ movie day slowdown. But really being with people during the holidays instead of feeling like you have to give and spend and overdo, really being with people is what's going to create a beautiful, peaceful, loving holiday.
Well, and there's so much contrast available during the holidays.
Yeah.
So we have a choice.
Yeah.
We can focus on the energy that's super available to be stressed, to be rushed, to be overextended, to be fearful of the money that we're spending.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
there's a whole other end that so gets often overlooked of connecting,
Yeah.
love,
Yes.
giving,
Yes.
receiving.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're focused on the rush of the holiday, we're blocking out all the love
All the
and the
gifts.
connection,
All the real gifts.
all the real gifts. So that's the shift. When we talk about shifting, that's the shift. If you catch yourself caught up in that rush and the obligatory gift giving
Right.
and all of that, which I have a whole other thing to say about the obligations and acting on those.
Yeah.
What can you be grateful for in that moment?
can
Can
you
you
love?
see that
Yeah.
people are connecting? Can you see that some people love to go to the mall and go
Yeah.
shopping?
Yeah.
Find those people, they're there.
Yes.
You're going to have the other ones that are like all hunched over and miserable.
Yep.
But you don't have to join that club.
No.
You always have a choice to focus on all the other feelings that are available, but you're just not choosing them.
Right. You're not tuning yourself into that
Right.
frequency.
And the whole obligation thing, I'm going to speak to this for a second because obligation for me has always been like sandpaper against my heart.
Like I do the opposite.
I do the opposite. So, and I did the opposite for years without compassion or love.
Yep.
And so then, that wasn't that because I was creating from being
Right.
like, I'm not doing this.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
obligated to myself not to
Resistance.
be obligated.
Resistance. Yep. Yep.
But when we do things out of obligation, when we go to parties that we don't want to go to, when we buy gifts that we don't want to buy, we're disempowering those people on the other end.
Right.
We're saying you're not worth it.
Yep.
So do yourself a favor and don't buy the gift and don't go to the party and sit in a 5-minute meditation and focus on what you love about that person or you love about that party that you've decided not to go to. See if you can get yourself aligned in the higher vibration of the feeling, and then you can choose to move forward.
Right.
But if you're doing things out of obligation, if you're buying gifts for people that you don't want to buy gifts for because you think you have to,
Yeah.
you're completely disempowering and that person on the other end who is 100% worthy of all the abundance and joy and love in this world as much as you are, as much as I am.
Absolutely. And the energy goes in the gift. However you're feeling when you bought that gift and give that gift, the energy is within that gift. I say that about food too.
Right.
People always say, oh my God, you're such a good cook. And I'm like, because I put love in my food.
Right.
You guys know that. It's like when you are loving what you're doing, it's always going to be an amazing experience because you're infusing it with that energy. So if you're going to buy a gift, make sure you do it with the right intention behind it.
Right. And if you're cooking for your family, understand that the energy that you have behind that food preparation is going in the food.
Totally.
So you can choose to feed your children with rushed feelings or
Overwhelmment.
love,
Yep.
or love. This is all within our grasp.
So true.
Because everything is energy.
Everything.
This is not something that's off the rails. This is science.
Yeah.
It's science.
Totally.
This is matter of fact for all our intellectuals out there.
Yep.
This is matter of fact stuff. This is science. Everything is energy, including money.
Yep.
And it's just finding what your perfect alignment is with money.
Yep. And
to-
feeling better about it.
and-
better and better and
Yeah,
better.
and feeling
Yep.
if you want to,
Yeah.
if you're ready to
Yeah, it's a
change
choice.
that.
It's a
Yeah.
If you're
totally
ready
a choice.
to change it. I remember at one point it was probably about a year ago, maybe even more than that, and I just said to BJ, "Wow, we have a lot of financial karma in our DNA." From the Great Depression.
Yeah.
I mean, from
Heck yes.
everything, right?
Yep.
From all the lifetimes, from all our
Yep.
ancestors. And I just said, I want to end it. We're going to be the ones to end it.
I heard our generation is going to end it, actually.
Yeah, BJ's like, I want to end it. Yep. And we've ended it.
Yeah, for sure.
And the physical's just catching up.
It's totally.
And I love it.
And it takes a little time for that physical to catch up.
But it's cool. It's on its own pace. It's like I've practiced this so much now. It's like I can see, it's like the kid, like, you know, that's always late for the bus, you know, like, wait for me. It's like, I know, sweetie. I know you're coming. I love you so much.
Well, and that's expectation, right? That's expectation and alignment. So my advice would be to write down how you feel about money and see what kind of relationship that you're instilling with money. And then on the other side of the paper, write what you want to feel about money. And then start noticing your thoughts. And then start turning away from the thoughts that give you a yucky relationship with money and start turning and tuning into what feels good. Sometimes you can't look at the money because the money feels so bad. You have to look in your life and go, what's good? What can I feel gratitude for? What can I appreciate? And then the money follows when you do that. And then you're just cleaning it up as you go along. And that's what N21 is so effective, is that mind training, catching your mind, catching yourself in those low vibrational patterns, and then deciding that you're going to feel different in that moment.
And being in a community of 70 people that are all interested in being deliberate creators.
No doubt.
And already are deliberate creators.
No doubt about it.
I mean, that community, I don't ever want it to go away. I don't ever want it to go away.
I don't think it's gonna.
Oh, I don't think it's gonna either. It's just amazing.
It's gonna get bigger and brighter.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. It's a movement.
It's a movement.
It's a revolution.
It's a revolution.
Heck yeah.
That's right.
I think just recently you've been pointing out to me, just when you make decisions, are you making decisions based on money?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
am I buying the sneakers because they're cheap?
They're
or
on
am I
sale.
buying
Yeah.
the sneakers because I need the sneakers? Or should I be buying the new pair because it's the latest? Like, be in the feeling. So it
What's
just goes
your
back to
intention?
the, like, what is it?
Yep.
And I've been really spending time with that, flights and, you know, what races I'm going to do and just feeling into that. And if it doesn't align, if it doesn't feel good with the money aside, then don't do it.
Right.
But there are still times, there are bits and pieces where I'm like, oh my God, this is an old habit. I'm looking at a low level grade new bike when I should be looking at the top grade new bike because I'm completely
Well, what do you want to identify with? Do you want to identify with that abundant, incredible, amazing bike, or do you want to identify with one that's cheaper because you don't feel worthy of the one?
Right. So that's a decision based on money, and that's so not the place to be.
That's not how to manifest it.
No, not at all.
And if your partner is at 60% and you're at 150%, just stay at 150% and go higher than that. So for years now, I've been flying nonstop anywhere I go.
Yep.
Always nonstop.
Nice.
I don't care if it's more expensive.
Yep.
I'm going nonstop.
My time is worth it. Yeah.
And BJ will still be looking. He's like, I got this flight for like $99. I'm like, and there's 7 stops. I mean, that's an exaggeration.
Deeper. I think it goes deeper though, because I guess this is why I'm an endurance athlete, because I like to do the work.
Right.
Like more work
Yeah.
means more experience, which means I win. Like I've got
exactly.
But that doesn't always have to be. Like
No.
question
No.
that. Question that belief. Like you can come back to it and still do it, but just question that feeling. Like it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be 3 layovers. Like you can
and it doesn't
nonstop
it doesn't have to be a fight.
Right.
I am so fine with flying nonstop.
Yep.
And BJ meeting me at our destination on his own flight. I am
Do what's good for
totally
you.
okay with that. It doesn't have to be a fight. But I know that over time, you know, the whole sneaker thing and the flight thing, like I see it. He needs to have this process because I've had my own process.
Because we can't rush someone's process.
Yeah, and I think
There's
BJ,
going to be lasting change when they can actually experience
Absolutely.
it.
Yes.
You can't drag somebody.
that's sustainable change. And BJ, you touched upon something I think is really important, and Goldyn and I have talked about it a lot in the group with guiding people on their choices and things like that.
Yep.
Is that if the purchase doesn't feel good,
don't buy it.
if it can wait, don't buy it. Don't make the decision from fear
Absolutely.
or lack.
Absolutely.
And that might mean just pausing, getting out of your office, take a walk around the parking lot, take 10 breaths.
And knowing that if you're meant to have it, it will be there.
Yes.
Because we have that, that lack mentality where it's like, oh my God, I'm going to lose it if I don't buy it right now. And the reality is if you were meant to have it, it will wait for you.
It will wait for you.
Or you'll get a better deal later.
But the feeling behind the financial decision is so important. So let's say it's not a purchase. Let's say it's, okay, let's look at our life and we need to take some things out of our life. Okay, well, if you're in that moment of saying like, oh, I'm going to cancel my Netflix subscription or whatever, if you're fearful as you're pushing that cancel button, don't push the cancel button yet.
Yeah.
Work on getting yourself aligned, at least calm, just neutral. You don't have to love it. Just get neutral. And then hit the cancel button.
Right. Exactly.
And that's the most, I think that's
because then you're not acting from fear.
Yes.
You're acting from clarity. You're acting from a decision that you made around this experience. It's like the decision isn't being made for you out of fear. Yeah. All
right.
Awesome.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think we've answered all the final questions.
All right.
You guys have the keys to the kingdom.
Keys to the kingdom, baby.
The question is,
will you open the door?
Okay, so our intention is that we have empowered you to rip off that Band-Aid and exercise your freedom to create a divine love for money, to handle your finances with wisdom, and align yourself with everything you dream of to create from a base of gratitude. No problem, right? Now, seriously, you guys, the techniques around creating massive shifts in your life are so incredibly simple, but they have everything to do with the present moment awareness gained through meditation. It's about doing the work in a moment in order to align yourself with where you wish to go. But we can't do that work in a moment if we're not skillful at being in the moment. Team Yogi Triathlete members under the guidance of Coach BJ are living examples of this process, whether they like it or not. And just yesterday, our athlete Deepthi moved mountains at Ironman 70.3 Indian Wells. It was one of the most incredible things I was able to witness in my life. I mean, she is more pumped than ever to continue what she started, which is to break patterns of belief that no longer serve her and create a life beyond the limitations of the mind. Congratulations to all the athletes who raced yesterday and to our friend and race director, Sabrina Houston, who, along with a great team of staff and volunteers, pulled off an amazing first-year event. I think this is going to be a really popular race leading into the future, so we hope to see you guys there next year. So listen, if you're hyped up to create an abundance mindset, please do not wait another moment. What are we waiting for? Why do we wait and delay our greatness? Just join M21 right now. And if you're ready to take your training to the next level, as in up level, then contact us about training and racing on Team Yogi Triathlete. We are taking new athletes now, and the off season is such a potent time. BJ just tasked the team today with this challenge to, in the off season, as the physical rests and gets ready for another amazing season of training and racing, to use this time to focus on the mental piece, focus on the mental training, focus on lifting the limitations and taking a good, hard look at where you are in life. And is it where you want to be? Because you can change that in an instant. You are the greatness you seek. It's just a matter of peeling back those layers to reveal that we already are what we spend our lives trying to become.